Welcome back. This is still Enterprise Morning. Now to our main conversation as we quickly turn our attention to comments made on Monday by Information and Orientation Minister Mohammed Idris after the Federal Executive Council meeting.
Yes, Idris said the federal government had invited Kaduna-based Islamic cleric Sheikh Ahmad Gumi over his comments on the activities of bandits in the country. He said Gumi is not above the law, noting that the government had deemed it necessary to invite him for questioning.
The cleric had offered to dialogue with bandits who abducted about 287 school children, 137 as claimed by the Kaduna State government from Kuriga in Kaduna State, warning that Tinubu must not repeat the mistake made by the former President Muhammad Buhari, who himself refused to dialogue with the bandits.
Meanwhile, 4 persons have been reportedly killed and 28 kidnapped in a Sunday night attack in Angwan Sayidu, Magajingari Ward 2 in Biriningwari local government area of Kaduna State by terrorists. National Daily Punch has said. A resident of the community, Idris Khalid, confirmed the incident to one of its correspondents on Monday. They quoted Khalid as saying the terrorists invaded the village from about 11:30 p.m. to 12 midnight and causing mayhem.
He said 30 persons and could authoritatively confirm that 28 were still hostage.
That's a very sensitive one, if you ask me.
Henry, there's a growing concern about the repeated kidnap. So we hear of kidnap on Monday and we hear of kidnap on Tuesday. It just sort of, begs for some answers as to what the federal government is doing in terms of security.
Very true, and of course, just like we keep, begging for answers to some of these issues that we see, the question is, which way Nigeria and how can we get all of these things resolved? But of course, to do justice more to this very important topic today is still with us in the studios as Dr. Evans Ofeli. He is a lawyer and barrister at law. Thank you so very much for being part of our show today.
Yeah.
And also joining us in the studios right now is Dr. Olayinka Oyegbile. He's a journalist and also an educator. Good morning to you, sir.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Welcome to Enterprise Morning today. All right, so gentlemen, let's of course dig deep into this particular issue. And the first question is, why does it seem that Gumi has become what lots of Nigerians would call a sacred calf? Because there's been issues of this coming up now and then, and he comes to say he knows where these bandits are repeatedly, but Nigerian government seem not to really take this seriously. Do you think Sheikh Gumi is a sacred calf? I'd love to start with you, Dr. Vance.
Well, I think Gumi has gradually become an hydra-headed monster, in quotes, who could tell the federal government exactly what they should do and what they should not do. The federal government should go and negotiate with bandits or kidnappers, terrorists, and insurgents. No government in the world, even if they negotiate with terrorists, will come out and tell the public that we are negotiating with terrorists. No government in the world does that. It is wrong for Gumi, who is not a security expert, who by definition is an Islamic cleric, and I don't think, and they say he's a medical doctor too.
He used to be a military officer.
He used to be a military officer.
Yeah.
That doesn't make him an authority in security matters at all. So it does not lie in his mouth to then be instructing the federal government to go and negotiate with terrorists. It's wrong. And when such unsolicited advice, are given, it is expected that the federal government should invite him for questioning and possibly profile him to establish a proper link between him and these terrorists and all that. Because for him to say that he knows them, he knows where they are, he would negotiate with them on behalf of the federal government, it's a sign that he speaks to them. Possibly they tell him before they go kidnap people and all that, or for carry out attacks. And if they so trust him, you can technically say it is safe to say it's one of them. Yes, because, This thing he comes to tell the federal government that they should send him. Those people are telling him to go tell federal government to bring money. Yes, he can't just wake up one morning and ask federal government to go and negotiate with, if there is no communication between him and those people. See, there's a thin line between actual commission of an offense and conspiracy. There's a very thin line, yes. Gumi could be an accomplice. The way he's going, if he's not giving them arms or the, wherewithal to go attack civil society, he's giving information. He's giving something. Yes, he's giving something. And once a link is established under the law between you and the enemies of state, it's conspiracy. Then you are presumed to have conspired with them. You can be arrested on the basis of reasonable suspicion and then taken to court. Then go to court and disprove your link with them. You understand? So I expect the federal government by now to have taken Gumi out so that through his confessional statements or through his, when you examine him, cross-examine him, you get more facts as to. But treating him with kid gloves and all that. This is somebody that was banished from Saudi Arabia. This Gumi we are talking about was banished.
For what offenses?
From Saudi Arabia. For offenses that contravene Islamic, the Sharia law. So, we should not continue in this tragedy.
Right. Thank you so much, Barrister Evans, for that thoughtful submission. I'll just bring my searchlight on Mr. Olayinka, Dr. Olayinka, I beg your pardon. Thank you so much for coming on the show. The incessant kidnap of school children, has sparked a lot of worry within and around the country. That's on one side. On the other side, if you look closely at what Gumi is saying about the high-handed approach by the federal government and how it hasn't solved the problem, because he's saying that, they have to get it right, engage the bandits, speak to them, find out what their underlying, requests or needs are. And the federal government, seem not to be listening. In fact, in some quarters, some people are saying Gumi's suggestions are spurious. Please, we'd love to have your 2 cents on whether the federal government should, should halt and then at least take a listen to Gumi and then maybe change the approach that he has faulted that may not be the right solution to ending the issue of banditry.
Well, I think anybody saying that the federal government is high-handed in this handling of this issue does not know what he or she is talking about. Because as far as some of us are concerned, the government is taking it with a kid blow. One, there is a saying that, show me your friend and I'll tell you who you are. Why is it that every banditry or every kidnapping or anything that has to do with violence in the north, it is Gumi they always talk about? It means that he has some links with them. And don't also forget, I think about a year ago now, one of his aides, Mahmoud, who is said to be his media aide and who masquerades as a publisher of one Desert Herald or whatever newspaper it calls it there,
Yes.
was arrested and is undergoing trial. I think he's still in detention now.
Yes, in custody.
How was he arrested? He was traveling abroad and he was arrested abroad and brought back to Nigeria. What has happened to him? We don't know now. And the issue of Gumi, again, okay, you have taken his aid on the same allegation. The trial has not been concluded. Now, Gumi himself has even come out to tell you that what you are doing is nonsense. Anywhere in the world, that is not tolerated at all. Because one is questioning the power of the state. And is even giving the state an alternative that is unviable in any way. How will a government, you tell the government that the way you are dealing with it is not right, let me help you. That means you know these people. And don't forget that also last year, there were reports and newspaper and even video of him discussing and talking with this terrorist. So what stopped the state authorities from asking him to give them the download of what he knows? Now, when Osama bin Laden was killed, how did they get him? It was just a simple intelligence gathering. There was a boss that they noticed about Tabat, I think in Pakistan. They noticed the boss every month. He leaves a particular building to go and buy rituals and comes back. And they never knew who the boss was serving. What did they do? They found a way to plant some chips on it. And the boss went back. The time he came, everything that was going on, they were able to get intelligence reports. And they knew that, okay, this is where this man was. And that was how they invaded the place. Are we saying that Nigeria doesn't have that? Even if we don't have it, are we saying that we don't have enough resources to engage this foreign intelligence to do it for us? Gumi has been doing that so much that he has now become like someone that is above the state. And it should not be. You should never allow a citizen to dictate, especially when it comes to issue of terrorism. Because whether we call it banditry, kidnapping, or whatever, it is an issue of terrorism. The country is undergoing what is undergoing now because many people are afraid to go to the farm. And this is part of it. And the case is worse in the north because it is difficult to convince them to go to school. Now they are sending their children to school. The same children, you are going to kidnap them. So who will send their children to school? Nobody. They will send their children to school again. Therefore, and the children that you don't send to school are tomorrow's bandits. And this is what we are facing today. My own fear is that if care is not taken, this thing will spread nationwide. If you notice of recent, there has been an upsurge of migration from the north to the south, either it's southeast, south-south, or southwest. So, and this kind of thing will bring a lot of problems for the country in general. Some other people have been saying that some of those schools should be closed down, and I say no. When you close down a school because you say it is in a danger zone, what are you doing? Because what these people do is they go to the soft targets. They go to the villages. Okay, we're saying that the cities are being overpopulated. You are now saying we should close down those schools. That means you are giving in to the terrorists. Small by small, as they say, they will inch into your system, and then the whole country will become unsafe. So I think, as far as I'm concerned, the arrest of Gumi is in order. All they need to do is to question him and let the world know what he knows about this thing. Because, as I said earlier, Tukur Mamun, up till now, we don't know how far the case has gone. And this perhaps is giving his Oga the reason to also come out and be saying what he's saying.
Okay, so right now, is it possible for us as a country and the security architecture to explore non-kinetic measures of solving this problem? And if you may, Dr. Ofeli, you're from the Niger Delta region, and the question now is, don't you think if you juxtapose what's happening in the core north of Nigeria to what happened in the Niger Delta region, where we have militancy, bombing of oil pipelines, which of course, if you look at it, is also insympatical with what is happening in the north. In the Niger Delta region, non-kinetic measures was employed. Amnesty was given to them, and today we have a reduced, measure of that. Don't you think it's equally fair enough to say, let's see what we can do to these people to help equally ensure that a solution is gotten?
No, you know why this is different from what happened in Niger Delta? the criminality going on in the north is very different because in the Niger Delta, under the militancy, there was a uniform body. We knew who their leader was at the outset. That there is, Niger Delta militants. You had, is it MEND?
Yeah, we had
Yes,
them,
you had
yeah.
MEND, and you have other subgroups.
yeah.
So the leaders, you could mop up the people, and the federal government could say, okay, it was a sincere dialogue, and they surrendered their weapon. And in response to that, the federal government also kept its part by engaging many of them, sending them to school, turning some of them away from their past life and, doing what they ought to do and took those arms away. That is not to say the problem have ended, but it gave the nation a reassurance. We went back to our original OPEC quota in crude production. That was very beneficial. But conversely, if you look at the one going on, there is no uniform kidnap group or bandit group. The only one we know, we have ISWAP. ISWAP is not just, ISWAP is within the West African
region,
coast. So it's even the one you call the Boko Haram have long split into circles
Different factions.
and factions. So there's no uniformity to that. If you look at the kidnappers, theirs is to kidnap and ask for ransom. And the moment they get the ransom, they all scatter. They are not in one uniform gang, kidnapping all the time and asking for ransom all the time, or like a company or a group.
But Doctor,
You
you've
understand?
had
So-
Gumi said repeatedly that the issue, the main bone of contention here is the federal government is not asking to have a sit down with these people so they would understand their pain points. That's what Gumi has always stated.
The non-kinetic measure
Yeah.
is part of security. We call it soft power. It's part of security measures that can be deployed. You understand? But no country in the world will come out like Gumi want the federal government to respond to it and say, okay, now we don't hear. We are going to discuss with them. No government does that. Government can go on that to do that discussion without letting the public. Yes, because the moment you open the floodgate that we are discussing with them, you are going to have multiple. Everybody will start their own. From now we have relative peace in the south, the southeast, the south. You understand? By the time you now come out of the federal government, yes, we are now negotiating with bandits and kidnappers. You will now start to hear kidnapping all over the country. Because now the federal government is negotiating, and the federal government is, people are being recognized for being criminals. So Gumi is not even tactical. You don't tell the federal government brazenly to go so that they will not respond to you. If they want to do it, they will do it their way. But it has to be discreet. You don't come to the point. That's what I'm saying. I'm not against a non-kinetic measure. And besides, negotiating with bandits or terrorists or whatever, it's not the only non-kinetic measure there is.
So what other solutions?
There are other solutions. There's a carrot and stick. There are other measures. Okay? Other measures best known to the security authorities, which they could deploy. You understand? Because for me, kidnapping and asking for ransom is illegality. I mean, complete. It is people. The fight is not even against the federal government. Where in some other places where you have rebels, and they are going to federal government installations and destroying those things.
Oh, okay.
You understand? What was the Niger Delta militants doing? They were blowing up the Atlas Cove, right? Kidnapping the oil company workers, the white men. That was their target. They weren't kidnapping people and ask village to go and bring money. That wasn't what men and the rest of them were doing. So the crime dynamics is even different. This one, they go to a village, invade the entire village, start killing people in the village, take over there, put their own flag there. So it's a different thing entirely. This one, the kinetic measure is what is required. But my fear is that each time the federal government deploy kinetic measure, they go hit the same society or community. You understand? They hardly get their target. But you have drone technology and the videos where they have shown us the target of these people. how they operate, what they do, how they, sometimes they hold party there inside Sambisa Forest, celebrating their victory when they have successfully ambushed Nigerian soldiers. And we have it on camera. You understand? So if there's no sabotage within the army, outside, what we need to do is to deploy the right kinetic force, the right one, that will stimulate them, because you have the capacity to do so. And if that is not going to work, if deploying that will mean you are going to hit citizens, then deploy non-kinetic measure that best suit the situation, not necessarily what Gumi will have the federal government to do. Because the ripple effect of what Gumi wants the federal government to do is that that dimension of crime will be escalated. It will be escalated.
Okay.
Because what Gumi is saying, in essence, is the federal government to call this one and give them money. That's what he's saying. He's just not saying it expressly. Because his part is going to share from that money.
Allegedly.
You remember that in Mamu's house, foreign currencies
Were found.
there. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I agree with him. Now, when you compare Niger Delta agitation and this one, it's like comparing apples and oranges. They are different.
Really?
In the first place, you can pinpoint in the Niger Delta that, okay, this one is the leader of this, that one is the leader of that. In this case, they haven't come out to say that this is the leader, and you don't even know exactly what is their demand.
Agitating for.
What are they agitating for? Why should you kidnap citizens and ask for ransom? I mean, okay, now, the figure that we were given when the kidnap took place was 287.
Yeah.
Okay, now they are released. We have 187.
Yeah.
They were kidnapped from Kaduna State and they found them in Zamfara State. Are we saying that moving from Kaduna State to Zamfara,
Very far distance.
did they drive? Did they walk through the bush? Or how did they get to Zamfara? And we have drones. Is it that they don't even see them at all? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I think even in the military and the security forces, there are people that are operating with these people. I mean, the money they are making from this is enormous.
And the people they showed us on TV, those children, don't look like
Exactly.
people that were...
I mean,
So this may have been stage managed.
so there is a lot of things that we need to, there are a lot of questions that we need to ask.
Now, as a communicator, I'd love to ask, in the funnel of information, passage, the minister was the one that made it clear that there's the need to invite Gumi for a sit down. And the question is, why is it not coming from the DSS or the police force?
No. You see, I think the minister had to do it so that it doesn't look as if he has been judged as a criminal yet. Because in every case, a suspect is a lawyer, he knows better. A lawyer is deemed, a criminal is deemed innocent until proven otherwise.
A suspect.
Exactly. So I think the come and give it to us. If he now fails to appear before the panel or to honor the invitation, then they know that he has something to hide. So I think the Minister of Communication is in the right place to let it not look as if, because the moment any of the security agencies invite him, it might look like, no, they've already presumed him guilty, this, and that. Mm-hmm. So let's look at it that way. The minister has said it. Let us see whether we show up to the panel or whatever, who are the people that invited him, so that he can give them some information that we have. This is not to say that he's also guilty, because there are some, as I said earlier, show me your friend and I'll tell you who you are. There are also instances where some people are doing some things You may not be their friend, but they think that maybe in the eyes of authority, you have their ears. He is a doctor, he's a former military man, and he is Islamic cleric. So they might think that, well, let us talk through him and see whether the government will listen to him. Don't also forget that in the north, they are predominantly Muslims. So to look for an Islamic cleric that we they think that, okay, well, if we say this is the man we want, we know that the government may not want to arrest him or do something untoward to him. Therefore, we believe a little bit in that, and then it might help their cause. So let us keep our fingers crossed, but my own is that the government must not allow this thing to just go like that, because it will be sending the wrong signal.
True.
And we know we are in a country where religion carries a lot of weight.
Right.
So that tomorrow now something will not happen, maybe is a Christian leader or a traditional worshiper, and then government will swoop on such a person, and then everybody will say, maybe when this not, you know what I'm saying?
Very true.
So,
Very true.
Thank you so much, Dr. Olayinka. I think my producer has a question for both men, even though I had a question for Barrister Ofeli. I wanted to ask you if you think this government has the political will to fight insecurity, but I'll just take this question. 138 released, and the same day, 28 kidnapped. What really do we blame this on? Lack of intelligence, manpower, or poor judgment, or what exactly? Mr. Ofeli, you first in one breath.
Is complete incompetence. We're unable to secure our space. We have a huge ungoverned space. I've said this before, where people will just come out in a village and start ordering children into the bush and take them away just like that. Nothing will happen. 4 days later. Maybe it will hit the press after, how many days. By now, we should have proper surveillance across all the edges of our country and our borders. All the edges. And it should be manned by the security forces everywhere, across the country, just like you have in the UK. There is no part of the UK that you don't have CCTV camera. There's no part of the edge of the UK, the border, that you don't have security either being manned by individuals or manned by technology.
So
Surveillance.
why don't we have it here?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. First of all, you don't even have power. You don't have power. So you don't have power. You don't even have enough security forces. You don't have enough of them. You don't have. And the few you have are guarding the rich. Okay? So it's a dilemma. We don't have what it takes to govern the space called Nigeria. Even the little we have are displaced. We're not doing the right thing. That is why we keep having kidnap here, kidnap there. It started with the Chibok girls. That's how it started. And even though this is not, we heard that for the Chibok girls, sometimes funds were paid. Not in mainstream media anyway, but that's where it started from.
Yes, very, very, very true.
That's where it started from. And now we're seeing the duplicity. You cannot tell me that it was those who masterminded or carried out the Chibok girls. You can't tell me that they are the ones that are kidnapping today. Yeah, so the floodgate was open then. Now people have seen that that is lucrative. People are now duplicating functions to do the same crime. You understand? That is why I'm against this Gumi's advice to the federal government. To do what? Gumi is advising the federal government as who? As what?
As Gumi.
Yeah, on the basis of what?
Sheikh.
You understand? And they have failed to arrest him. I don't know. I don't think we're ready for this.
Doctor.
you know that the government has to do a lot of things to make sure that this doesn't escalate beyond it. I'm talking about willpower. I think the government of the day, or governments that we have been having, don't have the willpower to confront all this. I'm sorry, I don't, at a general policy level, Obasanjo is not the ideal person to talk about, because if he had done what he was supposed to do in 1999 till the end of his tenure, the problem we are having now, perhaps will not have had it. But in fairness to him, something like this would never have happened under him.
Yes, administration.
Because, take it or leave it, he's a human being. He has his own faults, just like every human being.
Right.
But when it comes to taking decisions that will kill issues like this, Obasanjo is forthright. He has the willpower. It's just that there are some other things he would have done that he didn't do. But under him, I believe that something like this would have been caught. I mean, because he's first in every day. For 8 years, we were saying that, oh no, Buhari will do it, we do it. He never did it. Under 1 year, it has happened under Tinubu. We are saying, okay, give him time. For how long are we going to give them time? It's the same APC, it's the same. By now, they should have a scheme that this is the way we want to do it, but I've not seen that. Nobody has come out to tell us that this is the way we hope to tackle it. And we allow it to fester. And when you allow it to fester, it becomes, it goes into a cancer.
Yes, very, very true. And Chinyere, just to talk some more on this. I remember prior to the election, Shetima, boldly said that leave the economy to Tinubu while I take care of security. And remember, we've seen him, severally, having a sit down with the bandits and dining and wining with them. And the question is, where is Shetima in the picture? All of this. And
unfortunately, one time he was even fingered as someone who hobnobs, just like you rightly said, with the Boko Haram and other sects. We just hope that government, picks up its mantle and then fights this hydra-headed monster head on.
Very true. Of course, we'd love to say a big thank you to our guests today. I'd love to start with Dr. Laika Oyemile. Thank you so very much for being part of our show today. And Dr. Vance Ofeli, thank you so very much also for always making time to be part of our show.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
And that's the size of our show this morning. We're glad you kept the date with us. You may join us again tomorrow. In the meantime, do kindly visit our social media rostrum at Enterprise TV 7 and our website at www.enterprisetv7.com. Thanks for being here. From all of us here in the studio, it's a bye from me.
Bye-bye from me. Bye-bye.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.